The U.S. Postal Service plans to hire 100,000 new employees by the end of this calendar year. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy also hopes to reduce the high turnover rates in the department. Danny Werfel is managing director and partner at Boston Consulting Group. He's former controller of the Office of Management and Budget and former acting commissioner of the IRS. Danny, hello, welcome.
Thank you, Mimi. It's good to be on.
Why is the Postal Service in this situation? How could they need so many new employees?
Well, I think there's a lot of broader factors going on. First of all, I think, out in the economy in the U.S. right now, we have a labor shortage. And so, I think people sometimes forget that when government agencies are competing for talent in the workforce, hiring, losing people, gaining people, they're not just competing against other federal agencies, they're other government agencies. Individuals often are taking jobs in the private sector. So when you hear there's a labor shortage or you see a lot of help wanted out there, that's true in the government as well. And also, I think the other factor, this may be a little bit more unique to government, is for a variety of different reasons, the government over the last 5 or 10 years, not just at the Postal Service, but elsewhere, there's really been, somewhat of a divestment in workforce, pay, training, recruitment. The government has not invested as much as it has in previous generations in workforce, and there's a lot of political reasons for that. But now maybe there's an opportunity to change that.
Anything particular to the Postal Service, though, that has caused such a reduction? I know coronavirus hit them especially hard with, workers getting infected and having to quarantine and things like that.
Yeah, there's some unique elements, and you mentioned a big one. I think that there are, a lot of organizations, nonprofit, for-profit, government, that are finding themselves in this type of acute need of individuals. So in some ways, the Postal Service is more front and center because it's a government organization that every U.S. citizen feels every day, sees every day, and in some cases interacts with every day. So when something like this happens and there's this there's either a decline in services or a financial issue of some kind, or this type of workforce shortage, it's more known to us and it's more part of the dialogue. But I think the reality is that there are acute workforce challenges going on across industries and across government. But you raised a good point, and that is that the Postal Service has had a particular issue with COVID, and therefore, it strains the workforce in a different way.
Does the USPS have the processes in place to meet this objective of hiring 100,000 new employees? Do you think they'll be able to do it?
I do. I mean, I think that that obviously there's a foundation of HR, human resources practices. They have the business processes, the standard processes for the full life cycle of recruiting, hiring, retaining, and then transitioning people to retirement. The question is can they strengthen it? Can they scale it? Can they innovate in order to surge and meet an emerging challenge or an emerging demand? So the foundation is there. Now the real challenge is to get creative and invest in scaling. And I think with the right leadership engagement and the right focus, I think this organization can do a lot. 100,000, that is a bold, ambitious target in the labor market environment we're currently in. But I think one thing that I would suggest they do in order to help achieve is really one thing that federal agencies, and the Postal Service is no different, has as a competitive advantage over other industries when hiring, is that connection that people have to mission, that connection to patriotism. And government agencies, including the Postal Service, I think can call on people to help the U.S. get through its current challenges. And, the Postal Service, like any other federal agency, plays a key role in helping the country get through its challenges. And right now, with the pandemic, with everything that's going on in the country, it's a challenging moment for us. We're sitting in the wake of a massive hurricane hitting New Orleans right now. We're living in the strain of the challenges that are going on in Afghanistan. You think about, the Postal Service plays a vital role in our society, and I think there's an opportunity to really ask people to come be a part of that and help the country during a challenging time.
Danny, what about the high turnover rate? Do you think USPS can offer incentives to reduce that? And if so, what should those incentives be?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think it starts with understanding what we have in terms of flexibilities for better benefits, for better pay, for more flexible work arrangements. I mean, right now in a competitive market, labor market, one of the things that appeals to employees are these basic things: pay, benefits, flexibilities. I think the Postal Service has actually more flexibilities than a lot of other federal agencies, just based on the way it's structured and the legislations around it. And so, as I was describing earlier, how do you innovate? How do you scale? How do you change that foundation that you have of HR practices during peacetime, if you will? Now you have an acute moment or a crisis. How do you scale those? I think the flexibilities are there. The leadership there really needs to lean in and leverage those flexibilities.
Well, Danny, thank you for joining us. We all certainly hope that they are successful, because we want our letters and our packages on time. So
exactly. Vital role at a challenging time for our country.
Absolutely. Thank you.